Hey guys, and today I wanted to talk about my experiences with a very specific drug called DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine. And I think many people may actually know of it already. Um, like Joe Rogan is quite a big like ambassador of DMT, and he sort of brought so much sort of light and attention onto DMT. Um, which I think has been like quite good. So DMT essentially it's a Class A drug. It's in the UK it's a Class A drug, so it's completely illegal to own and use. But the interesting thing about DMT is that it is actually a naturally occurring substance in almost all living organisms. It's a naturally occurring substance in humans, and you release very small amounts of DMT when you dream, and you also release DMT when you die, actually, which is it's seen as like quite like a spiritual drug. And then there's like other alternative versions of where like DMT is like an active component. There's a drink called ayahuasca. I've never actually tried ayahuasca, but it's used by a lot of like spiritual ceremonies in it's like South America, I believe, in like the tribes, because you can extract it from like the bark in trees that grow in South America. It's used out there in various different spiritual ceremonies, and DMT is like a very pure form of it's like a much more intense experience. Sorry, I should say that ayahuasca goes on for about 8 to 12 hours, and as I understand, it's a bit more like LSD. It's a much like slower experience, whereas DMT, you smoke, you do up to about 50 milligrams, and you put it inside like essentially a crack pipe, a glass pipe, and you heat up the DMT, not putting the flame directly on the actual crystals itself, and then you inhale it, and you have an instant it's not like a high. I don't want to call it a high. It's not like something that you would really do with your like friends or like at a party or something. It is a real experience where it's an out of body experience that you're giving yourself, almost like a near death experience, I guess, where if you take it successfully, you will actually you will see yourself leave your own body, and you're transported into this other realm for what feels like hours, but is actually only about 10 or 15 minutes. And this is a very, very powerful drug. Like, I think the most powerful thing I've ever taken, in terms of like the first effect that you have. So the first time that I ever actually smoked it, I had ordered DMT off of like the dark web. It was very, very pure, especially for my first time. And I smoked about 25 milligrams. I did a 25 milligram hit, and I did this in like my bedroom. I was about 17 or 16, and I did a 25 milligram hit, like around 25 milligrams, and I felt like I had been strapped onto the front of a rocket, and I was like taking off. I felt like I was just lying on my bed, but I felt like my head was going at 1,000 miles per hour. It's a very difficult like experience to explain. It literally felt like I was strapped on the front of a rocket, and I was taking off, and I was moving so quickly. And I started to panic, actually, because I'd never done it. I thought I'd done like a lot of other drugs before, like ecstasy, like MDMA and like cocaine, and I smoked a lot of weed. I'd done speed and methamphetamine, but this was like just a completely different experience. It was so instant. Like, I had taken like 2 hits from the pipe, and you hold them in, and I went to take a third one, and I just could not. I was just unable to do it. I just sort of fell back with this pipe in my hand, and I was like, taking off at like 1,000 miles an hour, and I just panicked. I thought I'd killed myself, actually. because it is just like a near-death experience, and I sort of panicked myself out of this, out of the experience. So I was like, essentially what they would call like breaking through. I was on my way to breaking through because I had never experienced anything like this. I don't know, like my mind just sort of wouldn't allow it to happen, and I lay there for about 10 or 15 minutes. Like I had my eyes closed, and you have like these beautiful, really like vivid like colors and shapes, just like very nice like hallucinations, and that is essentially what will happen if you don't break through. It's also a very like mellow experience. You feel like very relaxed. My heart was beating like very fast, and almost like I don't know, I was like lying on my bed and felt I was like sinking into my bed. So it was very pleasant, but that's not really like the experience that you want from it. So that was the first time I ever took it, where I scared myself out of ever doing out of the breakthrough. And then the next time I took it was like a few weeks later, and to have like a really good experience, like my best friend's father, who was quite into psychedelics, he told me like to really like detox my body, so don't put any other chemicals, any other like drugs, any alcohol, eat very clean. And so I did that for about 2 weeks, and then the next time I did it, I took a larger hit. Actually, I took about 40 milligrams, I think so. This was about 2 weeks after my first experience. I bought a gram of DMT, and I broke straight through into like this other like dimension, other world. I'll steal this line from someone else. Someone told me that it was when I listened to a podcast. Someone gave the description: it's like you're a 2 gigabyte memory stick, and you're plugged into like a supercomputer with all the answers to everything in life and so on, and you can only bring back 2 gigabytes of knowledge. And I thought that it's just quite an accurate description. Like when you're there, is what in like this other dimension, I really felt like you're I don't know, on the different just on like a different level. You a more I don't know, like enlightened, I don't know if that's the right word. You're talking to like an enlightened version of yourself, and I was like having this conversation with like I don't even know what it was. It seemed just like a spirit of myself, but that sort of knew all the answers and like experience, almost like a god of myself, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I was speaking with this being, and at that point in time, I was on like the completely wrong path in terms of like my life. I had dropped out of school. I was always very clever, but I hated school, and I dropped out of school because I was very, very rebellious. And as I said, I was doing like a lot of drugs, and we would just sit around like my friend's house on like a Wednesday evening, just ordering like 2 grams of MDMA, and just like sitting in his bedroom, sniffing lines of MDMA with no like real purpose. Like we were like 16 or 17 and just doing like whatever drugs we could, and we like ketamine as well. Ketamine and MDMA were the main things we were doing, and smoking like a lot of weed as well. And I was just talking to this like enlightened being that was just sort of saying that like you were wasting your potential, like you can do so much more than this. Like you're literally just wasting away by like, number one, like hanging around the people who are doing this type of stuff. Like you're like better than them. If they want to go and do that, that's fine. Like, and you should, but you need to be like strong enough to leave them. This was like the sort of takeaway that I had, that I needed to like take control and not just follow what my like stupid friends were doing, like literally going nowhere in life. And the other very powerful thing that I had is that my father died at like a very young age. As I said, I was adopted, so it was my birth father. He drowned when he was 21. And the takeaway that I got from the DMT experience was that I sort of had to live for both of us, because he didn't get to experience life. Like didn't get to experience very much of life because he died at such a young age. That it was like my responsibility to go out there and have an amazing life, have amazing experiences, really like make something of myself, because I owe it to him. And also, like, if you sort of believe that someone essentially someone is can live on through you, through their like DNA, right? He created me, so a part of him sort of lives on through me and through my experience, through my through what I'm made up of. I'm a direct descendant of him, so he would like live on through me, is essentially what I was told. And that I need to make sure that just because he died at such a young age, that I have to go out and really, really make something of myself. And that was like, I don't know, such a big like motivator for me. So it was actually after doing DMT, and also, there was a lot about being positive as well. I was really quite negative back in those days. Very, very negative, in fact. And like, I don't necessarily like believe in like the law of attraction, that you can think things into existence. I think that it also comes a lot down to like hard work and strategy towards things. Like, if I just sit in my room all day thinking about that I want a Ferrari, it's not going to happen. But I do believe in like having like a positive mindset makes it much easier to achieve those things, as long as you have like a strategy and hard work as well. So those three things sort of coming together, like mindset, strategy, and like hard work, that is what will bring you success. And so I immediately like changed my like negative mindset as well. Like, this DMT experience really, really did like turn around my life. There was like a massive change in me. And I quit smoking the day after. I quit all drugs, and I went into like isolation, like self-isolation. Just I cut off all of my friends, and I didn't go outside for about 6 months, because I knew if I went outside, I have like quite an addictive personality, and I knew if I went outside I would like meet my friends and I would go and smoke, or just fall back down like that same rabbit hole. So I didn't go out anywhere for 6 months. I literally did not leave the house, and just to get myself like clean of drugs. And I had such like a horrible experience because of all like the toxins I put in my body. I had like a huge ulcer on my throat. I was suffering from like insomnia. I was sleeping for about half an hour every night, or like an hour every night, and it was just like, it was literally torture. I would just be staring at the ceiling for hours, feeling tired, wanting to sleep, but just unable to. And I also lost a lot of weight then as well, actually. But it was all like in the end, such a great experience. It was like what I needed. It like had to be done. Like, God knows where I'd be now if I like hadn't made that change, because I was going to all like these illegal raves. I actually also had a friend who died from a ketamine overdose. He fell into a canal and drowned. He took ketamine and was just completely unaware of what was going on, and he fell into a canal and drowned. So I had like a lot of negative things around me, so it was really very good that I got away from that. And then I isolated for 6 months, as I said. And I also remember the first time that I went outside, I went down to like a shop to go, and I can't remember what I was buying, chewing gum or like some drink or something, and I'd completely lost all of like my social skills. And I was so scared to talk to the woman who was serving, like the cashier woman, just like some old lady working, who who you pay, yeah, the cashier woman. I'd lost like all of my like social skills because I hadn't conversed with anyone except for like my close family, and I became so shy. And then it was like a project of just like rebuilding myself over the next year, of like slowly getting back into like social life. And I found myself a job. I got some structure in my life, like a bad job at that. I was working in like a factory, but again, these were all like parts of my things that just really needed to happen in my life, I feel, to teach me like a good work ethic. I think I've even spoke about this job before, like getting up at like 4:30 in the morning to start work at 6 a.m. It was a shit job. It paid very bad money. But it was just something that I needed, and it gave me structure in life that like I really did, like started from the bottom to go and then move up into like a better job, into an office job, and I taught myself marketing and so on. So I am like very thankful for all of the I don't know, struggles and like things that seemed like very difficult at the time, but if you look back on them now, like now I'm like 25 years old now, so this was like 7 or 8 years ago, I look at them as like blessings. They were things that really needed to happen to push me onto like the path that I'm on now. And now I really feel like I'm in the exact place that I needed to be. All of these things that seemed so strange and so bad at the time pushed me onto like the right direction. So yeah, that's my experience with DMT, and then moving on to like some other little like stories from there. And as I said, like this was before like Joe Rogan or anyone was even talking about DMT. I can't even remember how I first heard about DMT. This was over 10 years ago, and I spent about a year trying to find DMT. It was so hard to find, and eventually I ordered it from the dark web. And now there's been like a lot of like light shed onto DMT. It's much easier to access because of like people talking about it on like these podcasts and so on. But yeah, I would love to hear like also if anyone else's experiences with like DMT, and like also DMT is the only drug that I would ever take again, I think. Like weed I really don't enjoy. LSD I used to enjoy quite a lot, but DMT it's a much more like spiritual experience, which like I see a lot of benefit in doing like a DMT trip. Not often, but I don't know, maybe once per year. I haven't done DMT in about 4 years now, but it's definitely something that I would be open to doing again in future. Yeah, and I'd love to hear anyone else's experiences on DMT. Yeah, I hope it was interesting. Let me know any questions, any feedback, and your experiences with like DMT or other psychedelics.